In previous lectures, we have seen what is meant by supervised learning, unsupervised learning, what are its different types, and how these methods work in practical. So we will now focus on supervised learning. So whenever we are saying supervised learning, it is obvious that class labels will be given. So whatever data has been provided, that data will be associated with corresponding class labels. Only n tuples won't be given. Along with that n tuple, along with every n tuple, there will be a class label. That class label may or may not be numeric. In some cases, it may be numeric. So based on certain factors, suppose based on height, based on say blood group, based on age, suppose there are such different parameters, n parameters are there. Based on this n tuple, we can predict weight of a person. So data can be given like what are the readings on age. Say suppose in case blood group has something to do with height, then we can take blood group also. Then we can take with weight, then height. Parameters like these can be considered, and along with these a class label will be given, that will be weight. So here whenever we are talking about weight, it is a numeric variable. So whatever class labels are given with every n tuple, whatever class label we are given with that n tuple, that class label will be a numeric class label. So class label every time need not be a dichotomous or a qualitative kind of thing. It may happen that instead of these weights, we may have been given that whether the person is obese, whether that person is normal weight person, or whether that person is weak or underweight. So if these are the class labels given, then we can talk about qualitative class labels. So these are the qualitative class labels. So depending on the situation, we may be given with qualitative class label, or we may be given with quantitative class label. So suppose HR CT scan score is there, then out of 0 to 25, if class level, depending on all these situation, what is the age of this particular person, what is the blood group, what is the weight, whether he was having any history of such disease, any other disease, whether he is suffering from blood pressure, diabetes, all other aspects, whether he is a smoker or not, whether he is having any other addiction or not. All these parameters will be given, and class level will be say his HR CT scan score. So whether that is 0, 1, 2, or up to 25. So here we are having numeric class levels. Or instead of that, instead of giving actual class HR CT scan score, it may be given that whether that person is below risk, whether that is having moderate risk, or that is highly risky. So classification will be done accordingly. At their side, classification will be done. So if HR CT scan score is less than 10, then they will assign that particular person to be a low risk person. If HR CT scan score is in between 10 to 25, then that person will be moderate person with moderate risk. And if HR CT scan score is greater than 20, then that person may be labeled as person with high risk. So instead of giving actual HR CT scan score, we may be given with actual labels such as below risk, moderate risk, and high risk. So in this particular case, we are given with qualitative class labels. So every time class labels won't be quantitative, every time they won't be qualitative. So depending on the scenario, sometimes they may give us a data with qualitative class labels, or sometimes we may be provided with the data having quantitative class label. So whatever be the situation, we must be able to analyze that situation. So whenever a data has been given along with class labels, we must be able to learn out of that data. So if we are learning from the data where class labels are qualitative, so in that particular case, whenever a new patient arrives, then that person can be classified as low risk patient, moderate risk patient, or high risk patient. So that is nothing but a classification. Or suppose instead of these things, HR CT scan score, actual scores are given, then based on the attributes of new patient. So whenever a new patient comes in, we may take information about his age, blood group, weight, whether he was addicted or not. Based on all these things, we are predicting his HR CT scan score. So that is nothing but a numerical prediction. So in supervised learning, whenever we are saying supervised learning, be assured that class levels are given. That's why it is supervised learning. So if it is supervised learning, that is, if class levels are given, then we can classify a new observation to either of predefined classes, or if class label is quantitative, then we can find value of that class label. Here that class label is quantitative, therefore I am talking about value. So value of that class label can be found out for the given patient, or whatever new entry comes in for that n tuple will be in a position to calculate value of class label. So these are the two problems: numeric prediction and classification. Whenever class labels are quantitative, then we are talking about numeric prediction. Whenever class labels are qualitative, we are talking about classification. So both problems as a philosophy, they are same, but the way in which class labels are given, if class labels are qualitative, then we are talking about classification. If class labels are quantitative, then we are talking about numeric prediction. In statistics, these both things mean the same. We call a generic term, we have a generic term for this as regression analysis. So even if class label is numeric, we can have this particular setup. If class label is qualitative, then we can have a logistic regression. So logistic regression, that can be used as a classifier. So whichever model does the classification, that is a classifier. So this terminology is frequently used in machine learning: classifier. So what is that classifier? Classifier is a model that classifies the data. So any model that can classify a new observation. Discriminant analysis, that is a classifier. So any model that classifies a new observation to to any of the pre-existing classes, or any if class label values are given, then it can predict value of the class label for the given observation, for the new observation. So whichever model does this, that particular model will be called to be a classifier. So this is the problem of classification. Whenever we focus on classification, then we are interested in that particular data where class labels are qualitative in nature. So whether that person is having cold or not, whether that person is having cough or not, whether that person is having body pain or not, like these all parameters will be considered, and based on that, suppose there are 100 patients in a particular hospital, and suppose there are 100 instead of patients, let us say 100 persons are there. So 100 persons are there in a particular region, and we have collected data on all these attributes on these 100%, and we also have taken RT-PCR test on those persons, and after that we have come up with COVID status. So some of these persons may be COVID positive, some may be negative. So now based on these things, now here we have considered RT-PCR test, and based on that we have come to the conclusion whether that person is COVID positive or not. So in future, if now suppose whenever suppose in your nearby region, suppose your neighbors, suppose out of your 10 neighbors there are 4 neighbors, or suppose there are 2 persons who were having cold, who were feeling cold, who were having a severe cough, and they were having body pain, and other symptoms were not there, and they, but still you suggested them to have a test, and unfortunately the test came out to be positive. So that particular person is COVID positive. Again, another neighbor of yours, he was also having the same symptoms: cold, cough, and body pain, and again you suggested them to have a test, and he also found out to be positive. Now if there is some other person, suppose in your family or in your acquaintance, suppose there is another patient who is also having same symptoms: cold, cough, and body, then we directly say that you must be COVID positive, because I had 2 friends who were having same symptoms, and both those friends were detected to be positive, and you also are having similar symptoms, and therefore you must be positive. So here, without any RT-PCR test, you are coming up with a conclusion. Why you are coming up with conclusion? Because in your brain you are already having those 2 observations. So these 2 observations are there in your brain, and you also know class label values for them, and unfortunately class label for them was yes. So whatever experience you have got in your brain, based on that you are coming up with conclusion that you are feeling same symptoms as one of my friend was having, and that friend was positive, and therefore you are going to be positive. So this is nothing but a learning from the observation. So whatever observation you had, this particular observation based, and for that, now suppose there was another friend of yours, he was having cold, he was not having any cough, he was having body pain, but you don't know whether he has taken a COVID test or not. So whether he was positive or not, that you don't know. So in future, suppose another friend of yours, he is having cold but doesn't have cough, also has body pain, then here you are not in a position to say something about this person, because you are already having someone in your acquaintance who is having same symptoms, who was having same symptoms, but you don't know whether that person was detected to be positive or not. So here we are not, that is a problem under unsupervised learning, because whatever was class level for that particular person, whether he was detected to be positive or not, that you don't know. And therefore, even if this observation is quite similar to this one, but still you are not sure whether this particular person will be COVID positive or not, because you are having that particular observation, a similar observation in your brain, but you don't know whether that observation was having class level yes or no. So whenever 3-4 persons in your class, they are having even you students, whenever you study previous papers, whenever you are preparing for competitive examinations or your regular MSc examinations, what you do, you study previous examination papers and you look out for the pattern, that whenever this question was asked, this question was also asked in descriptive part. So likewise, you are searching for patterns, and based on that you are predicting something. So here also, if cold is there, if the person is feeling cold, if that person is having cough and he is also having body pain, then he was detected to be positive. So in future, whenever a new person comes in with same attributes, with readings, same readings on these attributes, then we are going to say that that person is going to be positive. So this is nothing but learning through the experience. Here we haven't done any RT-PCR test, actual class level we don't know, but based on the what previous knowledge, what past experience we have got out of this data, based on that we are coming up with some conclusion. So now suppose a particular data cloud is given, say suppose this is a data cloud. So for simplicity, suppose it is only a two-dimensional setup. So here one variable is there, suppose x variable is there and y variable is here, and suppose these blue are or suppose there is some classification in the population as blue, green, red and orange. So these are the class labels. Suppose we are having, say, 200 observations, and for those 200 observations, class labels are blue, green, red and orange, and this is the scatter plot of those observations. So whichever are blue observations, you can find those observations here. So here clear cut cluster of blue observations is found, green, red and orange. Now suppose a new observation is found out. So we don't know whether that observation is having class level blue, green, red or orange. But what we know is just readings on x and y. So in new observation, say O1 has been found out, whose x value and whose y value is known to us. So these x and y readings on observation O1 are known to us. So if that particular point x, y, whatever readings is here, say x1, y1, so we'll plot that. Suppose x1 is somewhere here, so x1 and y1 is somewhere here. So if this is the observation, say this is the observation x, y. So ideally, we will classify that observation to belong to green class level. So if these class labels are there, like blue, green, red, orange, then whichever observation that falls here, ideally that has to be classified as a green observation, because it lies near to the green cluster. Here, fortunately, we can visualize 4 clusters distinctly. This is a very ideal situation. In practice, it may or may not happen. The clusters may be overlapping with each other, and therefore classification problems becomes more difficult in that case. But as a starting point, for simplicity, I have taken 4 clusters to be clearly distinct. So here classification is quite easy. Whichever observation lies here, ideally that observation should be said to belong to the green class level. If some observation is here, then that must be classified to red class level. Here, if there is any observation, then that must be classified to orange. Similarly, if there is observation somewhere here, then that has to be classified to blue population. But suppose some observation is here, then there is a problem. Now, this is not clearly in the red cluster, not clearly in the green cluster. So where this observation needs to be classified. So if that observation is in the core part of some cluster, then there is no problem of classifying an observation. If someone is found in Mumbai, then he must be citizen of India. But if someone is found out at the boundary of India Pakistan, then there may be a question that he must be someone who is having nationality of Pakistan, and he must have lost his way, and he must have come in our boundary. So there are chances of for taking doubt when we find that particular point at a boundary, then there can be some problem in classification. So if this observation is to be considered, then for this particular observation, both possibilities are open. It may belong to the red class level, or it may belong to the green class level. So what we will do is, we will now suppose, let us make it quite easier. Now suppose this observation is here. So now what we will do, we will find out which is the nearest observation to this. Now this observation is unknown observation. Unknown in the sense its reading on X and Y are known to us, but what is the class level, that we don't know. So now you can consider these to be, say, suppose this X is level of cup. So we can have level of cup as defined on certain scale, and here we can have, say, temperature. So based on level of cup and temperature, we have classified these populations are as, these are, suppose these green are say those are having no those are having not any risk of COVID. These are having moderate risk. Likewise, these are having high risk. Likewise, you can imagine that these color combinations are given in order to identify those populations. So these are the class levels, and whenever this new observation comes in, class level for this particular observation is not known to us, and that is our problem. We want to estimate that class level. So now this observation, for this particular observation, we will go into the data and we will ask all the data points that who is closer to this particular observation. If there are 200 observations in the data, then we will ask every observation that whether you are close to this observation. So every observation will say, I am this much closer to the observation, I am this much closer to the observation. Then we will find out who is the most closer to this particular observation. So the closest observation to this particular observation will be find out. So this is the closest observation, and this closest observation is red, and therefore we will declare this observation to be red, because this observation looks like this particular observation. Suppose this is A1. So this O1 new observation that looks like A1, so it is very close to A1. Whatever readings on X and Y are there for O1, they are very similar to A1. Whatever readings on X and Y are taken on A1, and whatever readings on X and Y are taken on observation on unit O1, both are very near to each other, and therefore if A1 is having class level as red, then O1 also must have class level as red. So suppose there are two persons, and this person, suppose this person okay, this person, based on his color, skin color, based on his behavior, and suppose this is a Western country, suppose this is someone from European country, and this is someone who is Indian. So based on skin color, based on some behavior, based on food culture, what he prefers to eat, based on all these things, we can have certain idea about European people and Indian people. So whenever a new person comes in, and we want to find whether that person is Indian or European, then we will ask him, what is your skin color? That skin color will be noted. We will ask, we will find out here some factors regarding his behavior. We will find out some factors regarding his food culture, and based on that, if there is someone Indian who is having very nearby choices. So whatever readings are there on this particular new person, and suppose this O1 is new person, so his skin color, his behavioral property, his food culture, some index will be there. So based on this, if there was someone who was having same attributes, he was also having same skin color, he was also having same behavioral pattern, he was also having same food culture, and he was Indian. So if this is the case, then we must classify this particular observation to be India. So that is the phenomena. So whenever I told you that in this particular setup, whenever a particular person was having certain characteristics on cold, cup, and body pain, and if that person was yes, so yes will be here, say red. So if that particular person was having class level red, then any new person who is also having same attributes, then that person will be classifying to a red category. So that is what we are doing over here. Whenever a new observation comes in, we will find the closest observation in the data set and how that closest observation is behaving in terms of class level. Based on that, a class level will be assigned to new observation, right? Whenever a new observation comes in, whenever a new n tuple will be provided, so whatever available n tuples are there, first observation, second observation, 200th observation. So first variable, second variable, up to nth variable. So this is the first n tuple. This is the second observation or second n tuple. This is the 200th n tuple or 200th observation. So this n tuple will go to each and every point, and he will find out his twin. He will find out. He will try to find out his neighboring observation. So which observation looks like me? So this n tuple, if this n tuple is there, then we will not classify that n tuple. We will ask that n tuple, go and bring your brother, go and bring your twin. So whichever observation looks like you, just bring that observation. And once it brings that particular observation, then we will see whether this observation is classified as red or green. Then based on that, we will say, okay, you are red. So if this observation is red, then we will say that, okay, you are also classified to be red. So this is one approach of classification. So here what we are doing, whenever new observation comes in, we find the closest observation in the data set, and that based on that closest observation, we classify the given observation. Whatever class label is there for the closest observation, same class label will be assigned to this new n tuple. This is one approach, but there are some problems with this particular approach. Now suppose there is a person who is having not having any cold, who is not who is not having any cough, who is not having body pain, but unfortunately he was detected to be positive. So there can be some asymptomatic persons who are not feeling any symptoms, but they can be detected to be positive. Now suppose some other person is there now suppose this person is not this person is positive, so class level will be S. Now suppose whenever we are considering rapid antigen test that doesn't have 100% efficiency. So suppose on even RT-PCR also not having 100% efficiency. So unfortunately, whatever error margin of error is there, suppose that has happened, this person was not positive. Truly, that person was not positive, but unfortunately, his test came out to be positive. So this person is not positive, but he tested to be positive on a test. Now suppose some other person comes in, and this is a new observation, and this has to be classified. Now the closest observation to this person is this particular observation, and since this has been detected to be positive, therefore we also have to classify this observation to be positive. So if there is an error in assigning class label here, because this class label we cannot 100%, we cannot predict class label with 100% efficiency. So even if these parameters are there, or suppose in terms of credit card data, actually these class labels are favorable. So a person who is having these particular attribute values is more likely to repay the loan, but unfortunately he hasn't repaid the loan. So there can be some exceptional cases. There can be some exceptional case. So this is highly favorable characteristic. So his income is quite large. He is having good credit history. All other things are good. So he is expected to, he is highly likely to return the loan, but unfortunately because of some other circumstances, he may haven't repaid the loan and therefore he is defaulted. So whenever a new person comes in with the same attribute, whenever with the same setup, with the same configuration, so to say, so that person will be unfortunately assigned as a defaulter. That person will be classified to be defaulter because this person is defaulter. But that defaulter, that is an exceptional case, because ideal behavior of this particular person is not defaulting the payment. He must repay the loan. But since this particular person has failed to repay the loan, this person who is also having good characteristics, that person is having nice characteristics, nice configuration for the bank, that bank is bank should definitely give credit card or loan to this particular person. But because there was some other person who was also having same configuration but he didn't repay the loan, because of that fact only we are assigning this person as a defaulter class level. This defaulter category will be assigned to this person, or we will say that particular person is having class level yes, or that particular person is will be classified as COVID positive. So this is the problem. So whenever we are taking, means look at the problem, look at the situation quite carefully. What you are given with, you are given with data on 200 entries. Data on 200 entries are given, and you have come up with conclusion based on a single observation. So you have wasted the data. We have given you the data of size 200 and you have taken the decision based on one observation only. Then you have wasted all the efforts that we have taken in order to record that data on remaining 199 observations. So you have been provided with a bulky data, but you have taken a decision based on a single observation. So we cannot be that much mean. So someone has collected data for us and we haven't given a thought to this remaining data. We have taken a decision based on a single observation. And whenever you are taking some decision based on a single observation, then there can be a high volatility with that particular decision. So whatever decision you are taking with, there is high risk with that particular decision. That decision uncertainty assigned with that particular decision is quite large because you have taken that decision based on a single observation. So if that single observation, that observation on the basis of which we have taken the decision, if that observation has unfortunately been assigned a different class level, then you are going to commit a mistake in assigning class level to this test tuple. Whatever test observation is there, in order whenever you are assigning class level to this particular test observation, you are subjected to make an error because of this, because there was error in observation that you have taken to be a standard observation. You have compared this new test observation with this standard observation. But if there is problem with standard only, then there has to be problem in this only. That's why you have to set your standards quite high. You have to be very thoughtful while setting your standards. So here, whenever you are taking some decision by comparing it with some standard, then whenever I say standard, that standard should be in true sense, it should be standard. So in order to deal with this problem, whenever a decision is taken based on one observation, you are subjected to make error with a large probability. So what we can do is, okay, there can be problem with one, but there can't be problem with 2, 3, or as we increase number of observations, then probability of uncertainty will decrease. So what we will do is, this n tuple, this came to us previously and we asked that particular observation, go and bring your brother from this particular data. So he went and he brought this particular brother, he brought this particular observation as nearest or closest observation to that. Now this observation will again come back to us and we will say that we can take decision, because whenever you went to this particular data set for bringing your brother or your closest observation, we again thought on our methodology and we found out that we can't take decision based on a single observation. So you have to again go back into the data and you should bring 3 observations from the data. So we'll ask this particular observation to go back into the data, just go back into the data and bring your 3 brothers from this particular data, bring 3 closest observations. So again, this observation will go here. He will ask that how far I am from yourself. So he will find out distance between that particular observation O1 and first observation. Then again, he will go to the second observation and he will ask that observation how far I am from you. Again, he will go to the third observation. He will ask how far I am from third observation. He will go to the 200th observation, and then this observation will get this measure of closeness. So how close or how far that particular observation is from these many observations. So based on that, he will come up with 3 observations, say 67th number observation, then 72nd observation, and then 134th observation. So he will come up with these 3 observations, and he will say that, look, I have come up with 3 observations, and these 3 observations are very close to me. Remaining 197 observations, they are also close to me, but they are not close up to the extent that these 3 observations are close to me. So they are quite at distance from me. So these are the 3 observations that are very close to me. So now tell me, which class level should I be classified? So then we will see 67th observation, 72nd observation, and 134th observation. Suppose 67th observation is yes, or say in terms of color, suppose that one is red, this one is also red, and this one is blue. So majority is red, and then we'll say that, okay, you belong to the red class level. So your class level is red class level. So here what we have done is, we have sent that observation in the data. We have asked that particular observation, go and bring your neighbors, and decision will be taken based on their neighbor. Means there is a good quote in English. It reads like, you are identified by your company, what company you are having. Based on that, whoever are accompanying you, whoever are your accompanying partners, based on that you are being identified. So whenever this observation goes into the data, it will bring its closest observation, and based on that closest observation, this observation will be identified. So this particular observation will go inside the data, and then whichever are closest observation to this particular observation, based on those observations, this n tuple will be classified. So what we have done here is, we have asked this particular observation to find his neighbors. Now these neighbors can be in all these observations can work as neighbors, but who are the closest neighbor among them? Who are the nearest to this particular observation? So all can be treated to be neighbors, but among them, who are the nearest? So we are talking about nearest neighbor. And how many nearest neighbors we have found out? So we have asked this particular observation to bring 3 nearest neighbor. So what speciality in 3? We can have a general term. Suppose we have asked this particular observation to go and bring k neighbors from the classes. Suppose k is 5, k can be any natural number. So we will ask that particular observation to go into the data and bring your k closest or nearest neighbors, and based on those k nearest neighbor, we will take the decision. So what is the majority of class labels in those k observations? Based on that, decision will be taken. So we are taking decision based on k nearest neighbor, and that abbreviates as KNN classifier. So k nearest neighbors, KNN classifier, it simply means k nearest neighbor classifier. And the methodology of this particular classifier is, whenever a new observation comes into the picture, with that observation is new, and therefore we don't know class level of that observation. So what we will do is, we will find in the entire data set which are the k nearest neighbors of that particular observation. And once we found out those k nearest neighbors, then decision will be taken based on the majority. Among those k nearest neighbors, which is the class level that is occurring most number of times. So among those k observations, mode value of the class level will be determined. The class level that is appearing most number of times among these k neighbors, and based on that, decision will be taken, and accordingly class level will be assigned to the given data point. So whenever a new observation comes in, for that particular observation, we will find its k nearest neighbors, and based on those k nearest neighbors, we will take the decision. Now whenever we are doing this particular task, so the question arises, what should be the k? So ideally, what is the procedure? So whenever a data is given, what we do is, we take k is equal to 1, and based on that k is equal to 1, we classify the observation. Now how to classify the observation? Suppose these are the observations, these are the 200 observations. So what we will do is, we'll randomly select, say 25% observations. So 50 observations will be taken out. This will work as a test data, and remaining 150 observations will work as train data. Now among these 50 observations, now suppose there are only 2 class labels, yes and no. yes and no, these are the only class labels. So true class labels, okay. Uh, Suppose true class labels are yes or no, so that we will be predicting either the given observation is to be classified to yes or no. Now these 150 observations are provided with yes no class label. Now we will consider first observation in this test set. Fortunately, this is a supervised learning. This test data contains values readings on class labels also. Here class labels are known, but for the time being we will assume them to be unknown. So we will consider this. Suppose we will take any 25% of the data to be test data, but for simplicity, suppose this is the 1 to up to 150, and here 151 to 200. This, it doesn't means that we have considered first 150 observations to be trained data and next 50 observation to be test data. Suppose that we have identified 150 observations, and then randomly we have identified these observations, and then we have numbered them 1 to 150, and these randomly selected 50 observations will be numbered from 151 to 200. So now for this 151th observation, this observation we will ask this one observation, suppose k is equal to 1. So we will ask this particular observation, go and bring your closest nearest neighbor in this particular data. So it will go and bring some nearest neighbor, and based on that class label of nearest neighbor, we will assign this observation to either yes or no. Suppose here class label is no, so this will be assigned to no. But suppose this its class value is known to us. Suppose that was yes. So here class label was yes, and it is now classified to no. So class label is yes, and it is classified to no. True class label is yes, but it is being classified to no. Then we will focus on second observation. We will for the time being we will forget about its class label. We will ask this observation to go and bring its nearest neighbor in the data, and based on class label of nearest neighbor, we will assign this observation as a class label yes or no. Fortunately, suppose it was yes, and it is now again classified to be yes. So yes, this observation will be there. So at the end of this entire thing, once we classify all these 50 observations, then we can have a table like structure. Say here in the data of 50 observations, there were 30 yes observations and 20 no observations. Out of these 30 yes observations, we have classified 27 to be yes observations, and 3 are unfortunately classified to be having class label no. Similarly, out of these 20, suppose 10 observations are being classified as having class label yes, and 10 observations are being classified as having class label no. So these 27 were having true class label as yes, and they are correctly classified as yes. Similarly, these 10 were having true class label as no, and they are correctly classified as no. So this is the correct classification. So 27 plus 10, 37 are correctly classified out of 50 observations. So this is our efficiency measure. So this is nothing but a confusion matrix, how many times our classifier gets confused. So that is given over here, and based on this particular information, how many times our model is correctly identifying the class label out of the total observations. So that can work as efficiency, that can work as a efficiency measure for the classifier. So this efficiency measure will be calculated. Then we will move to k is equal to 2. In the next setup, again this 151th observation, this will be asked to go and bring their two closest, bring its two nearest neighbors. Instead of one, now we'll bring two nearest neighbor, and based on the majority we will take the decision. If there is say equality, suppose instead of k is equal to 2, we will go for k is equal to 3. Why k is equal to 2 is avoided? K is equal to 2, that can also be taken. K is equal to 4 can also be taken, but there are more chances that we will have tie-up situation. So if k is equal to 2 is there, this observation will go there, and it will bring its two neighbors, one is yes and one is no. Then there is a question to which class label this has to be assigned. Ideally it is assigned arbitrarily, but that is not a proper way to assign the class label, and therefore we will skip this particular value. Even value will skip. So we'll take k is equal to 3, and based on k is equal to 3, it will bring 3 neighbors, and then again we'll do the same procedure. We'll find this confusion matrix, we'll find the efficiency measure, and based on that, for k is equal to 3, we'll have some efficiency measure value. For k is equal to 1, we'll have some efficiency measure value. So we'll go on increasing this k, and there will be a time, suppose we reach up to k is equal to 9. So among these 9 values, which is the highest value of efficiency? So if this comes out to be M5, so highest efficiency is attained when we take k is equal to 5, then we can continue with k is equal to 5. So in that particular context, our k will be taken to be 5. That KNN classifier will be used in practice with k value as 5. So depending on the situation, we are going to take this particular decision, what will be the value of k. Now, suppose if we consider a regression model. So what regression model does is, suppose this is a regression model. So if we are given with data on 200 entities, suppose we are talking about logistic regression. So this class label, again, yes or no type of class label is given. So if we provide this particular data to the regression model, logistic regression model, then what it does is, now whatever test observation is there, this is the test observation, and what is its class label that we want to know. This observation is still to come into the picture. Now we are focusing only on this particular setup. Once we give this particular data to the regression model, what it will do, it will try to find, it will try to minimize list, it will try to find sum of squares. So using list square methods, it will come up with certain parameters, and using that it will come up with some, in case of logistic function, there will be some logit probit functions, and it will come up with some logistic model, y is equal to alpha plus beta x. This is a this is not a logistic model, but for simplicity, suppose y is equal to alpha plus beta x. In case of logistic regression, there will be some exponentiated terms. So for simplicity, suppose the model is y is equal to alpha plus beta x, or suppose there are several variables, so beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x2 up to beta n xn. We are talking about n tuples, so there are n variables. So y is equal to alpha plus beta 1 x1 plus beta n xn. So this model, these parameters in this particular model will be identified, and now this model is ready to be used. So once this model gets trained, we are having a model like y is equal to 3 plus 0.3 x1 plus 0.2 x2 minus 5 times x3 and so on. So we can have a model like this. So this model has learned out of the data, and now whenever a new observation comes in, these all values x1, x2, xn will be put in this particular model, and based on that, based on this, decision will be taken. So this model, once we provide the data to this model, it has learned immediately. That model is curious to learn. That model is very much curious to learn. As soon as you provide the data to that particular model, it starts learning, and it gets gets into some learned model, and then whenever a new observation comes in, it will just take a decision within a fraction of time, because once that model has been specified, once that model has been learned, this one new observation comes in, then there is a just a simple calculation. Just you have to put these all values over here, and then you will have certain value as a class level. So that is very ideal task. But whatever KNN classifier we have learned, this KNN classifier doesn't work in that particular way. What it does is, we will provide this data. So this is the data on x1, x2, xn, and these are the corresponding, say, class labels. So we'll provide this data. So it will accept that data and it will store inside it. It won't do anything to your surprise. Okay, I have taken the data, that's it. He will not do any kind of analysis. Means it's same like whenever we are providing notes to students, they just accept the notes. They don't go through the notes. Whenever exam will come, let's see at that particular point, that is a typical lazy approach. So that approach will be taken by KNN classifier. And in that particular sense, we find this KNN classifier very friendly to us, unfortunately. So this KNN classifier accepts the data, and it only takes the data. It only digests that particular data. It doesn't do anything. It will just accept the data, and it will not have any classification. It will not any learning out of that data. It will just accept that data and it will store. Whenever a new observation comes in, then it will start fumbling. Oh, we have to classify that observation. Then this particular observation will be taken inside, and it will be compared with each and every observation. Then which is the closest observation, that will be found out, and then what is the class level of that closest observation, and then finally class level will be come up. So it will take time whenever you are giving the observation, because it is the point at which it starts working. Because whenever you have provided the entire data to that particular classifier, it hasn't done anything. It will just accept the data and it won't do anything. The actual learning process of that classifier starts when you have given a test data, when you have given a n tuple that needs to be classified. Whenever you have given that n tuple to the data, only that n tuple to the model, only then it will start doing the task. Therefore, this knn classifier that is not working, that doesn't starts working as soon as data has been provided. It will just accept the data, it will store in the data set, and whenever new observation comes in, and whenever we ask that particular classifier, okay, look at this particular observation and we want this observation to be classified by you, then it will start working. Then it will run here and there, then it will go through entire data, and then it will come up with closest observation, and based on that it will come up with certain class level. So because of this particular approach, this is called to be a lazy classifier. This is a standard name. Why KNN classifier is lazy classifier? Because even if you provide the data to that particular model, that model doesn't perform any kind of analysis on the data. It will just accept the data, and it will say, let's enjoy the time, and whenever a new observation comes in, at that time let's see how to classify that observation. For the time being, why to waste observation on learning? Let's have some time on Facebook, WhatsApp. Whenever a new observation comes in, then we will see how to classify that particular observation. So that is the approach taken by KNN classifier, and therefore this KNN classifier is called to be a lazy classifier. So KNN classifier, even if you provide the data to that particular model, it won't do anything with that particular data. Whenever a new observation comes in, at that particular time, the classification process or learning process will start, and then decision will be taken, and therefore the execution time of KNN classifier is quite slow. That is one of the prime drawback of KNN. Execution time is very high. So whenever we are running out of time, whenever we have to take a decision instantly, whenever we have to take a decision in short period of time, then we can't go for KNN. Means direct KNN classifier, whatever its methodology is there, that KNN classifier we cannot use if we want execution time to be very less. There are some versions of KNN classifier. There are some advancements done in this particular classifier. That advancements will enhance the execution speed of this classifier. Those enhancements we will see in the next lecture. But this KNN classifier, since it is lazy classifier, we are not going to do anything with that classifier. It is not the thing. So this is a lazy classifier, so let us forget about this particular classifier. If we say like this, then we are also lazy. So we will not have that lazy approach towards this lazy classifier. We will be quite proactive in terms of handling this lazy classifier. We will try to make that particular classifier active. We will try to make that classifier proactive. So some advancements, some new versions of these KNN classifiers will come up with, and these, fortunately there are some versions of it, and these versions will enhance the execution speed of this particular classifier. And therefore KNN classifier as it is, and whenever this KNN classifier, I think it was proposed in 1960, but at that time there was no high-end computational speed instruments, and therefore this classifier haven't got that much popularity in those days, because who will do this all kind of observation? Now this talking in this particular way is quite easy, that this observation will go to each and every observation, and here it will find its distance from all that observation. Look man, this is not a distance between two real numbers. Finding distance between two real numbers is quite easy, but this is the distance between one n tuple and other n tuple. So this is n tuple. Whatever new observation is there, that is a n tuple, and we have to find a distance between this n tuple and this n tuple. And that's not the only thing. Again, this observation will go to the other n tuple. Again, we have to find distance between two n tuples. And if data is of the dimension 150, then we have to find 150 such distances in n dimensional spaces. And if data is quite bulky, if data is containing 15,000 entries, then we have to find 15,000 such distances. So that's not a practically feasible approach. And this is just for this one observation. If we wish to classify some more observation, then that process will be multiplied, that number of iterations will be multiplied that fold. And therefore this is quite, this was in earlier days quite difficult approach. Difficult in the sense it was hard to practically implement. But whenever this advancement in computer science was done, whenever new technology came in, high computational speed instruments were there, then this KNN got some popularity. And using this algorithm, using these programming languages, high speed computer machinery, using these machineries, we can come up, we can easily implement this particular algorithm. But still there is problem of execution speed, and for that particular problem we are going to have some addition in this particular classifier. So some new add-ins will be brought into the picture, some corrections to this particular KNN classifier will be done, and accordingly will come up with some new model. Now this is about KNN classifier. In this particular setup there are some concerns. This is just a philosophical, whatever I have said up till now, this is just a philosophical kind of thing. Whenever we are saying we have to practically implement this particular setup, then philosophy is quite easy to digest. But whenever we want to practically implement it, then there are going to be some concerns, because whenever we are saying distance between these two, how the way, what is the way in which we are going to find this particular distance? Whether we have to go for a Euclidean distance, whether we have to go for Minkowski distance, whether we have to go for some Manhattan distance or Mahalanobis distance. So there are different measures. Which distance measure we should accept in this particular setup? Now suppose it may happen that this first observation, this first x1 is on say HB level and x2 is on height. So x1, that particular variable denotes HB level and x2 denotes height. So HB ideal level is say 12 or 11. So there can't be much variation. So minimum it can be say 7 up. So this range will be there in the data set. But in terms of height, minimum height can be say 120, maximum height can be 200 in centimeters. So this may happen. So there is large variation. So whenever we are calculating distances between these observations, this height is going to affect on distance more in a more manner than HB. So whenever we are finding distance of these two observations, so HB1 and height 1, this is the first observation, HB2 and height 2, this is another observation, and we are finding distance between these two observations, then this distance is going to get affected more by this height than HB, because HB, that is very insignificant comparing to the height value. So obviously distance between height is going to be larger than distance between blood pressure. So how to tackle such problems? There are going to different variables are there, and those different variables are being measured on different scales. So how to have uniformity among them? So that is one concern. What should be the value of K? That is the other concern. How to reduce execution speed of this entire setup? That is the other concern. So these are the concerns that we will be dealing with. So once we deal with those concerns, then this can be a practically implementable model. So these concerns, fortunately, these concerns are already addressed by researchers, and we have come up with certain solutions to these concerns. So if different variables are measured on different scales, then how to deal with that particular setup, that we already are having some theory for that. So we'll see all those theories and how to determine values of K, what are different aspects of this KNN classifier, what are its merits, what are its demerits. Those all things will be studied in the next lecture. So for today's lecture, we will stop here only.